The Eatwell Guide, an introduction. You should be able to recognise the Eatwell Guide as the UK's healthy eating model and recall its key messages. You should be able to sort foods and drinks and those of combination within dishes into the correct place on the Eatwell Guide. And you should be able to, at the end, review a day's menu and provide feedback on how it can be improved based on the Eatwell Guide messaging. So here's the Eatwell Guide. It's the UK's healthy eating model, and it shows us what we need to eat and drink to be healthy. So what can you see? First of all, how many food groups are there? What's the message regarding hydration? How much do we need to drink? Is there anything outside this Eatwell Guide that perhaps maybe is not healthy? Is there any message regarding packaged food? So, can you name all the food groups? So the yellow one is potatoes, bread, rice, pasta and other starchy carbohydrates. The green one is fruit and vegetables. The pink one is beans, pulses, fish, eggs, meat and other proteins. The blue one is dairy and alternatives. And the purple one is oils and spreads. So why do you think food groups are different sizes? View this Eatwell Guide like a pie chart. It shows us how much we need to eat from each food group. So if you look at each group and see whether we need to eat a lot or even plenty of, some of, or even a little of the food group. So we'll go into detail. First of all, the fruit and vegetable section. What foods can you see here? What foods are not on it? Because potatoes are not on the fruit and vegetables group. How much do we need to eat from this group? We need to eat lots. We need to eat plenty. We need to have at least 5 portions from this group every day. In fact, some research is saying nearer 7. And base it on vegetables and not just fruit. A portion of it can fit into your hands, like the size of an apple, or a tablespoon for peas and sweet corn. So have a good variety. Each different colour gives a different nutrient and will help your body. So you get a variety, you'll be able to cover all the gaps and get all the nutrients that your body needs. So what have you eaten from this group today? And what counts towards your 5 a day? Well, dried fruit will also count to it, so about 30 grams, but you can only take that once a day. Because if it's dried, it's going to be more sugar in it. Or you could have a fruit and vegetable juice, and the portion size will only be 150 grams, and that only can happen once a day, because when you blend down fruit or vegetables, you break down the sugars and make them more readily available, so that it would be higher in sugar than the actual raw fruit or vegetable that you're eating. Also, when you break it down into a juice, there's less fibre. Or a dessert bowl of salad would count as a portion. And we have fresh, frozen, canned, dried or juiced types. They all count towards your 5 a day. But did you know that you can have no more than 150 ml of fruit juice or a smoothie a day? And that's because, like I said, the sugars are increased when you blend it and the fibre is reduced. So this is where the potatoes are. They're in the yellow section. Potatoes, bread, rice, pasta and other starchy carbohydrates. So can you recognise food in there? How much do we need to eat from this Eatwell food group? We need to eat lots or plenty. So we need to base our meals around starchy foods, eat foods that are from this group with every main meal. We should be choosing higher fibre varieties of these foods, whether it be whole grain cereal like Weetabix or bran flakes, or whether it be brown bread or wholemeal bread, or potatoes with the skins on, or whole wheat pasta, whole grain rice. All these will count as the higher fibre variety. So if you were basing your meals around the starchy foods from this food group, how would you do it? Well, for breakfast you could have whole grain cereal or Weetabix or bran flakes or even wholemeal toast, or you could have porridge. For lunch you could have a baked potato, you could have a wholemeal sandwich, you could have a whole grain roll, or you could even have a wholemeal pasta. And for your evening meal you could have either potatoes, pasta, rice, and base your meal around that. Always remember, the message here is that you should be swapping it for higher fibre varieties. So the beans, pulses, fish, eggs, meat and other proteins. What foods do you see here? Where it's beans, pulses. The pulses are the things like lentils and chickpeas. Or the other proteins would be things like soya. Nuts are in here too, as well as fish and poultry. Poultry being things like chicken, turkey. So we should be eating some from this food group. Now we should be having some foods from this group every day, so at least we have an intake of protein every day. It's recommended that we should be having a minimum of 2 portions of fish every week. Every week, 2 portions of fish. And it's saying 1 should be an oily fish. How many different types of oily fish can you name? I have a mnemonic that helps me remember the oily fish's names. And my mnemonic is smashed. So S-M-A-S-H and 2 T's. T-T. Smashed. So S for salmon, M for mackerel, A for anchovies, those are the ones that you get on your pizza, S for sardines, H for herring, T for trout, and T for tuna. Now tuna can only be classed as oily fish if you have it as a fresh tuna. If you have it as tinned tuna, it doesn't count as an oily fish. Then we have the blue section, the dairy and alternatives. So what food can you see here? We see cheeses, we see milk, we see yoghurt, and we also see soya. And in there we'd also maybe have almond milk or coconut milk or any other nut milk. How much do we need to eat from this food group? Some. We need to have some foods from this food group every day. The message is that we should be choosing foods from this Eatwell food group that are lower in fat and lower in sugar. That's, for example, low-fat yoghurt, semi-skimmed milk, or reduced fat cheese. What are your favourite 2 foods from this group? The purple section is oils and spreads. What foods can you see here? Well, you see unsaturated fats like Flora spread and olive oil. Olive oil happens to be a monounsaturated fat. How much do we need to eat from this group? Very little. We do need oils and fats in our diet, but we don't need much. We only need a small amount from this group. Or it's the message is that we're choosing unsaturated fats, and this is because the saturated fats that you get from things like butter and from meat products, they produce cholesterol in the body, and cholesterol is known to give heart problems. So, wee question, when have you had food from this group? And we have the hydration message. How many drinks should we have each day? We need to have between 6 and 8 drinks every day. We'll need more when we're active or the weather is warm. And we should be choosing healthier drink choices like water, low-fat milk and juice. And remember again, limiting your juice and or smoothies to 150 ml a day. So we can drink water, we can drink milk, and can drink juice, but limiting the juice. What have you had today to drink? Can you see any foods that are not in the Eatwell food group? I see some of my favourite choices of food. Ones I have to limit. Things that are high in fat, salt and sugar. They're not in the 5 Eatwell Guide food groups. And that's because we really don't need them to be healthy. They don't give us any nutrients. They might make us feel nice and feel good and comfort food, but they're not necessary for healthy living. So the message would be, if you do have any of these types of foods and drinks, make sure you only have them occasionally and in small amounts. Remember, a treat doesn't happen every day. A treat shouldn't be every day. A treat is occasionally. Maybe once a week. Maybe even push the boat out once a fortnight or once a month. But it shouldn't be every day, because then it's not a treat. It's part of your daily diet. So can you name 3 other foods and drinks like these? Now we're going to sort where the foods belong to. So we've got broccoli, we've got a low-fat spread, we've got natural yoghurt, we've got baked potato, and we've got lean beef mince. So broccoli would go into the fruit and vegetables section. Where would the spread go? Into the oils and spreads. Where's the natural yoghurt go? Into the dairy and alternatives. Baked potatoes go into potatoes, bread, rice, pasta and other starchy carbohydrates. And the lean beef would go into the beans, pulses, fish, eggs, meat and other proteins. Did you get that? Now we have combination foods. So most of what we eat is made of foods from more than one of the Eatwell food groups. These dishes and meals are called combination foods. So we can sort the foods in this meal into the correct Eatwell Guide food groups. So we've got a meal of bagel and soft cheese and orange juice. A bagel's like a bread roll. So where would the bagel go? Remember I said it's like a bread roll. Where would the soft cheese go? Where would the orange juice go? Well, the bagel goes in the potatoes, bread, rice, pasta and other starchy carbohydrates food group. The soft cheese is from the dairy and alternatives. And the orange juice is from the fruit and vegetable section. And what about this meal? Baked potato with tuna and sweet corn and a side salad. Which Eatwell food groups do all those foods go into? Which Eatwell Guide food group does baked potato go in? Which Eatwell Guide food group is tuna from? Which Eatwell Guide is sweet corn? Which Eatwell Guide food group is salad in? Well, baked potato, where's that? Yeah, it's in the potatoes, bread, rice, pasta and other starchy carbohydrates. And tuna? Yes, it's in the pink section, the beans, pulses, fish, eggs, meat and other proteins. Sweet corn? That's right, it's in the fruit and vegetable section, and salad is in the fruit and vegetable section. Now, if you were thinking of that as a balanced meal, that particular one, is it really balanced? just the meal itself? Well, not really, because there's 2 sections of the Eatwell guide that are missing, so we couldn't technically say it's balanced. But if you've added a glass of milk with that, and then you could call it balanced. Okay, now we have another meal: chicken, rice, vegetables with a glass of milk. Which section does the chicken come from? Which section of the Eatwell guide is the rice? Which section of the Eatwell guide is the vegetables? Which section is the milk? Well, the chicken comes from the beans, pulses, fish, eggs, meat and other protein. The rice comes from the potatoes, bread, rice, pasta and other starchy carbohydrates. The vegetables is from the fruit and vegetables section. And the milk is from the dairy and alternatives. Now, while that particular meal doesn't necessarily have oils and spreads, do remember though, if we don't really need that much oils and spreads, so not every meal needs to have it. So you could say that that's a balanced meal as well, as it's got the majority of Eatwell guide. It's got 4 out of the 5 of the Eatwell guide food groups in it. So let's close off and have a checklist. So how do you know if you've eaten well over a day? Have a look at this checklist and see how well you did. Have you had at least 5 portions of fruit and vegetables, remembering to eat as a variety of fruit and vegetables, eat different colours, eat a rainbow as they say? Have you had a starchy food with each meal? Remember the messages, go for the higher fibre varieties. Have you had some dairy foods today? Have you had some food from the protein group? Have you only had a little oil or spread? Have you had between 6 and 8 glasses or drinks? Remember that the juices and smoothies should be no more than a total of 150 ml per day. Have you had none or very little food from the foods high in fat, salts or sugars? And have you had a good variety of foods? If you managed all of that, well done. You've succeeded in eating well.